1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome back to 31 Days of Horror. Day 8. Today we have another Honeybee hosted episode. Honeybee is joined by her good friend Phillip. She actually recorded this one first, and I just mentioned that because I believe she makes some mention of it being her first time during the episode. So now please enjoy Honeybee and Phillip as they discuss the Ryan Reynolds movie, The Voices.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am your host, Honeybee, and with me today is a very special guest, my friend Phillip. We actually didn't talk about if you wanted to do like a name for the show.
So, there was a moment where I was thinking about doing that and like keeping like the same like theme that you and Precious D have, but Phillip starts with a P, so like nothing actually like there was like Big Papa P, but I was like nothing sounds like appropriate to say like on the air. So I was like, dog. So there was a moment where I was thinking about that, but it's just not a thing. So I was like, Phillip is fine. Phillip, whatever.
My guest, Pimp Daddy G-Funk.
Well, what?
This is my very, very good friend, Phillip. Phillip and I met at a bar in 2000 when did you start there, 18?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, so we worked together for a few years, and a few years ago, and we have been really great friends ever since. I really think of Phillip as family to me. He has a beautiful wife and daughter who I feel like is my family as well. Shout out.
Ayo.
And so let's get right into it. Today we did this is 31 Days of Horror. Insert day here. Not sure which day this will be.
Yeah, we'll edit that in post.
Yeah, of course. So we are doing the movie The Voices. It is from 2014. It is in color. Also, most of you probably already know. If you're new to the show, maybe you don't, but Precious D is my regular co-host and also my adult supervision.
Yay!
Yeah, and he has been since I was 15. So,
he's your director, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's been my director in several things. We have worked together throughout the years. He is such a good friend of mine. I love him, and he is the backbone of this podcast. So this is actually my first interview ever without Precious. So I'm going to try to keep my Precious in my mind, telling me to do the things and be my adult supervision. But if anybody knows how fucking chaotic I am, it's Phillip, because not only have we worked together, but he's one of my best friends. So
also, I'm just as chaotic. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. So, like I said, we are doing The Voices from 2014. It is a comedy horror film. Phillip, when I brought this to him, I asked him if he wanted to do horror. He's like, I don't really like horror, so I had to choose something that was horror comedy. How do you think I did? Did you like it?
It was actually fairly decent. I didn't really know what to expect from it, though. Horror is just not one of the things that I'm like, I'm going to go watch a horror movie today. That seems like a good idea. But
you did say you watched the trailer, but other than that, you were blind, right?
Yeah, this is the first time seeing it. I didn't really know what to expect, but Ryan Reynolds, Anna Kendrick, both very talented.
Yes, good segue.
I was like, I'm into that. I'm into both those actors. So.
Totally. Ryan Reynolds is the star. Anna Kendrick, Gemma Archerton, and Jackie Weaver. It was directed by Marjane Satrapi. And let's see, the budget was $11 million and the box office was $2.2 million. That's a little disappointing. I have to tell you the story of how I first saw this movie. I was dating this couple for a little while, and our first date was like a blind date. And I only went on a few dates with this couple, but the girl, shout out Courtney if you're listening to this, wink.
Ew.
She actually picked this movie for our first date.
Oh, okay.
This was the first time I'd ever met her.
Okay.
First time I'd ever seen her in person, and she picked this movie for our first date, and I was like,
It's
oh my
what
God,
a
yes.
choice for that.
I
That
know.
is all right.
it really speaks a lot about like you as a person, and I pretty much was like, yeah, I think I'm in love with her right now. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's such a good movie. It's a staple for me. I love it. So we're going to get right into the plot. I'm reading the plot from a summary from Wikipedia. Thank you,
Shout out.
Wikipedia. All right, here we go. Jerry works at a bathtub factory and lives in a modified apartment above a bowling alley with his dog Bosco and his cat Mr. Whiskers. Jerry has schizophrenia, but chooses not to take his medication. Okay, so Wikipedia gets right into this, but like, we don't really know that Jerry has schizophrenia right away, right? We kind of, we start off in this, like, at his job with these, like, pink-ass coveralls, these uniforms, like, happy music, all of this stuff. We really don't get what's going on.
Can we talk about that intro, though?
Yes,
that
please.
was it was such a fun, weird introduction into the horror, like, movie. Like, what kind of movie is this going to be? Well, we're going to have an animated cat, like, holding a knife. Like, okay.
Oh, you're talking about the credits?
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the intro, personally. I thought it was very unique and very just, like, what kind of movie are we getting ourselves into right now?
It's
Like,
so
it was
good. It sets the scene. It really sets the scene. Love it. Totally love it. So, yeah, Wikipedia gets right into it. Jerry has schizophrenia but chooses not to take his medication and enjoys delusions and hallucinations that manifest in the form of his pets talking to him. We also don't know that right away, too.
I like how they did that. Like, it wasn't like it was like they kind of like cut to the cat and like cut to like the dog and like cut to him, but like they didn't actually show anything. I kind of like the fact that we're kind of blind to that, kind of going in and and you're just kind of like, all right, what's kind of happening? Not really sure.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing stuff happening. You're like, oh, okay, got it.
What did you think when you found out it was the cat and dog? How did that strike you?
It was a little.
Were you
jarring.
surprised?
I was a little surprised. Yeah, I think it was just one of those. All right, cool. This is where we're gonna be going. All right. Side note: Bosco is the most adorable dog ever, and I will give my right kidney for that dog.
You're a good boy.
He's a good boy.
Yes, Bosco represents good intentions, while Mr. Whiskers represents his more violent nature. So we have kind of like an angel-devil situation. If you've never seen this movie, I have a few trigger warnings for you.
Yeah.
It is definitely in the horror section. This movie gets real fast. If you have...
it's pretty brutal. I was not expecting that. I was like, okay.
It is brutal.
And the trailer's like lighthearted and like comedic and like, okay, cool. Like it's gonna be a lot of comedy, and then just like,
oh shit.
Oh, we're going there.
Yeah,
got it.
It is heavy. We have a lot of just really looks into mental illness in this movie. And God, it's so beautifully written. It's such a I'm kind of getting in this phase in my life where I'm trying, like, growing out of the, like, romanticizing serial killers and, like, that sort of thing. You know, as a kid, I was always like, oh, the horror genre and all of these things. And as an adult, I have slowly backed out of that. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know, sometimes when, like, things are getting a little too gory or something like that, I'm usually like, I don't really like this, or I don't like want to watch it. But the comedy in this movie and the way that it is portrayed really makes it a piece of art to me. And I can really see the art in it, and I just think it's so well done. And I don't want to romanticize any mental illness or anything like that, but I think it is important to point out that, like, if you are hearing voices or you do have a mental illness, like, you have to get help, or else things like this movie are happening, right?
I think it really kind of, the overarching, like, themes and everything else, they really kind of, like, it's not just like, hey, you need help, but they make kind of like a of the situation, but also like really bringing some really intense
Real
situations
shit, yeah.
into this, and he is this way because of this, 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 and this, and you're like, oh shit, okay, cool. And it was in those moments where we were just watching it and just quiet, just taking every second in, every frame in, just trying to process. And it was, they weren't making fun of like the mental illness, but they were also like having it shown in a way that was comedic and real at the same time. And I really admired that. It was a really good take on that and everything else. So I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did too. Really well said. I love how you said that. It really does show, like, it's not making fun of, but I know if you've ever been like through something traumatic, or like I always call it traumedy, like you sometimes have to just refer back to this, like, life, right? And
my wife always says, either you laugh about it or you cry about it, and
exactly.
I want to laugh about it. So
yeah, exactly. Yes. So let's see.
So I do just want to say,
yeah,
because
please.
we have to say it, because Ryan Reynolds is just Ryan Reynolds in like every movie. But like he's talking to, I don't know if we've gone over this yet, but we've gone over. He's talking to like his boss, and he's like, they want to get you onto the picnic committee. And okay, cool. I want to get it on. Yeah, I want to get it on. Okay, Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds, and
yes.
I literally wrote Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds.
He's so good. Every movie he does, he has that like Ryan Reynolds flair. But I feel like in this movie, which was like 10 years ago almost, he's so good at that like social awkwardness.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we all kind of know this guy. Whether he be at work or whether Phillip is raising his hand right now.
I'm that guy.
Yeah, but that just like, doesn't really know like how to like what to say, and like everyone's just kind of like, what a weird guy, but he's just
too real.
He's just being himself, and he's like, yeah, like I want to be in this party committee. Yes.
Sure, I want to be involved in things and part of the team.
Yeah, totally. Jerry has a crush on his coworker Fiona and asks her out on a date at a local Chinese dinner theater called Shishan. She agrees to go, but stands him up to go to a karaoke party with two other women from work, Lisa and Allison. I kind of want to call Fiona out on her hot girl shit right now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
oh, yeah.
totally,
No.
right? Where she's like, kind of like, she doesn't want to hurt Jerry's feelings, so she dicks him around. And this is like kind of typical hot girl shit, where it's like she doesn't want to hurt his feelings, so she dicks him around. But then when she needs something, all of a sudden she's like, "Oh,
I
we're
literally
totally
have that
friends."
comment later, and I was like, "Man, getting a ride from the person you ditched, brutal." Mm-hmm. I did also want to comment. She comes into the office at one point. They're talking about like he set up like the PA systems for the party and everything else. She goes, so can the system play music from an iPad?
iPod?
I wrote, play music from an iPod. What is this, 2004?
Yeah, it was the only iPod that I ever owned. Also, the one that she's holding. I only ever had one iPod, and it was that one that she's holding.
I had the little small one that, like, if you weren't careful, you always wash in the dryer. Yeah, that's happened a few times.
Several times.
Also, he was talking to his therapist, I think, at one point about the voices, and he was talking to his mom. I think I'm jumping around a little bit. But I just wanted to kill my notes. He's talking to her about like hearing the voices and how his mom heard like the angels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then for some reason in the middle of that, like they're like, "Oh yeah, do you hear the voices?" And then she goes, "Oh yeah, your mom called them angels." I was like, "I call him Steve."
Oh shit.
Oh,
like I
God.
said, we all know a Jerry.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Oh my gosh. So Fiona pulls her like hot girl shit and decides that she's gonna blow Jerry off. And what I love about this, and I think it's important to mention, is that Lisa is like annoyed, because Lisa obviously really does like Jerry, and she's like, "Why don't you just call him and tell him you can't go?" Yes, everyone, be a fucking Lisa. Just call and say you can't go. If you're not interested in someone,
Let them know.
Come on, man. Like, here's the thing: is like, do I believe that Jerry was gonna kill someone anyway?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah.
But just like,
But, like,
taking the
he
situation.
he definitely had a very good motive at this point, and it's someone just that not strung out. Something's not the right word, but like someone like that, like deep in their mental like illness without like doing anything for it. That's just like every like red flag is just like
Yes.
going off.
Yeah.
I did want to mention while they were talking at the dinner, the three ladies and then Jerry. So, Fiona is just not about it. She could tell she just does not want it, everything else. So Anna Kendrick is like, I want you. But also Allison, at several points within the movie, was like,
Ow.
how you doing, Jerry? Like, she was about ready to risk it all on several moments. And, like, it pans to her, and she's like, yummy. And, like,
Oh
it's
my
like,
gosh.
and, like, you could tell she's like, she is all about it. And then Lisa, played by Anna Kendrick, who is gorgeous. Gorgeous. She was talking, they're like talking like at the diner and they're like, you know, hanging out and everything else. And she's like, oh yeah, can you give me a ride home? And I'm drunk. And then she looks at Fiona and she's like, oh shit, you're supposed to be dating her. But she's like, I'm ready. Come get it. So I wrote, Anna, I will give you a ride anywhere, anytime.
Beep, beep. So yeah, man, Anna Kendrick. Can we just like have a moment for Anna Kendrick? She is amazing in everything she does, and she is just one of those, like, I feel like I could hang out with her. Like, I feel like we could actually be friends.
Yeah,
She's just
like-
so real, it feels like.
She feels like the type of person that like you can definitely like have a drink with and like it just be just having fun and just like
Yes.
nothing else happening, just like hanging out with someone. Like I did also want to know in that scene I wrote Miss Steal Your Man, and then the way he's like talking to Fiona afterwards and he's like trying to like talk about it, I was like, smooth operator. And then the more it keeps going on, he's just more awkward. I was like, very smooth operator. And like I think we can all relate to someone like that, you know,
Oh, yeah.
someone that's just like doesn't know how to flirt, doesn't know how to like talk to women or like go about going on dates the right way. I think we can all kind of relate to that moment. It was a very funny moment.
It's so relatable. We've all either had it or know someone who has. So Fiona's car doesn't start, leading her to flag down Jerry. This is the hot girl shit we were talking about, because he invites her to Shishan, and she doesn't go. She ditches him for the karaoke, and then when her car doesn't start, he happens to be driving by because he's like listening to sad music and crying that he got ditched, and she's
As you
like,
do.
yeah, like you do, like you do. And so she flags him down. They have this moment where they're in the car and she's like wet because it's been raining out. So she's like, got to put something dry on. And Jerry's like staring at her. And so they have this moment in the car and they're driving and Jerry thinks of a joke. And the joke goes something like, I wish I would have written it down, but it's like, there are 4 angels in heaven. Their names are whatever they are. Gabriel, Matthew, Michael.
And
Gabriel, Michael, and
I don't remember the third one.
other Bible person. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Jacob. We don't know. But there's another one. And he says, what is the fourth angel's name?
I died at this point because his response was, it wasn't like anything like normal. He pulls Freddy out of his ass, and I just fucking died.
Oh, yeah. She's like, I don't know, Freddy the angel.
I was like, Freddy, yes, the last angel, the most important one.
Yeah.
Sure.
So while he's telling this joke, he's staring at Fiona and he's like, come on, you know it. And he's not paying attention to the road, which is super important because he hits a deer that crashes through his windshield, and it is pretty gnarly.
It's brutal.
They showed like a pan out of the wreck, and like it's the whole like skirt, like
Also,
it's
though,
like a scary wreck.
I do want to mention kind of in that side because it was kind of like a weird practical effect or like CGI effect or something. Like when they were spinning the car, it looked a little.
Oh yeah,
It
some
looked-
sort of effect.
Yeah,
totally.
like it didn't look like the actual car. It looked like they almost like CGI the car. That was a little weird for me at that point because I feel like they could have done more with that. I guess in that moment, but you know.
Yeah, I did notice the effect with the car. I'm not exactly sure what the effect was. I'm sure that Precious would know, but I didn't really notice the CGI until we got to the deer. So we get to the deer. The deer is half in. We've just finished this wreck, right? We've all gotten in a wreck. It's scary. We're trying to breathe it out. And Jerry hallucinates that this deer is begging him to take him out of his misery. He's like, I'm in misery. Please help me, Jerry. He's saying, help me, Jerry. So Jerry does as told, using a hunting knife to cut his throat. Remind you, Fiona is sitting next to him.
Just like, what the fuck?
Now spritzed in this blood from this deer who is begging Jerry. And Jerry's talking back to the deer. He's saying, okay, I'll help you. I'll help you. And Fiona's just like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Right?
She's obviously freaking out. And I had two thoughts. One, where the fuck did you get the knife from? Because, like, in all intents and purposes, like, it was just there. Like,
yes.
Convenient knife is convenient. I'm like, okay, cool, but where do you get the knife from?
Right.
And then, at the same time, I wrote, great first date. Great, all in big letters.
Yeah, one, because it wasn't even supposed to be a date. She ditched him, and then they ended up running into each other.
Bastard.
But we do find out later that that he did take the knife on purpose. We find out later while they're talking, he says, I didn't mean to kill Fiona. And his cat says, then why'd you take the knife?
Yeah.
And we're like, ooh, damn. So like I said, he was going to kill somebody. Like, you know, I'm not trying to, like, victim blame here and say, like, Fiona shouldn't have, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, it's also like...
I'm not saying he's right. I'm saying I get it.
So,
I understand.
I mean, that makes sense completely. Terrified Fiona runs off into the woods. Jerry chases her, still carrying the knife, and he's trying to explain, but he ends up tripping
This scene
and
had me
falling,
laughing so hard.
accidentally stabbing Fiona. Jerry tearfully apologizes for hurting her and says that he loves her. To end her pain, Jerry stabs her again and again and again and again, and she dies.
She gets stabbed a lot, right? And, like, I made a note. I was like, not even Caesar got stabbed that much. Like, she got stabbed from every angle possible. It just, I was like, God damn.
So what we see here is kind of this, I'd say, pattern of where we see, like, first the deer's like, put me out of my misery. And then Fiona's like, oh, like, stabbed on the ground. And he's like, oh, he says something like, are you in pain? I'll help you. I'll put you out of your misery. And you kind of see this pattern of like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like he's justifying to himself like that this is okay, or like, you know, it's bad.
At this point also wrote, she's fine, but a flesh wound.
Oh my gosh. So Jerry does actually leave Fiona in the woods. He returns home, and Bosco suggests he go to the police and confess, because, like we said, Bosco's like the angel cat's the devil, Mr. Whiskers.
Bosco was a good boy.
He's a good boy. Mr. Whiskers says there is no shame in what he did, but insists that Jerry needs to dispose the body. I love this, and he's like, you both are so fucking naive.
So also, side note, if you haven't watched this, Ryan Reynolds voices both the cat and the dog. But with the dog, he's like, what kind of dog is he? He's like a big, not basset hound. He's a,
like, I should know this, but it's like a mastiff.
I think so.
Yeah,
he's
a
just
mastiff.
this really
a bull
big,
mastiff.
like, just
like Turner and Hooch.
yeah,
like that kind of dog.
So he's got this like kind of like the southern drawl and everything else, and then this cat is like some Irish like asshole.
Where's
basically.
my fucking food?
And at one point, I did make a comment several times with it because it was just funny. Cats are assholes, confirmed. And then I wrote again because cats are assholes.
It's so true. Yes. Jerry collects Fiona's body, but leaves a bloody shoe and a pile of organs. Okay, so this is really the first kind of moment that we get where we see his, like, dysphoria, where he's, like, not in reality. Because when he walks back up to Fiona and she's been laying there overnight, she's not bloody. She looks great. She's beautiful. There have been flowers have grown around her. We kind of see this. This is the very beginning of we see his delusion of like he's very in his own world.
I literally made the comment. I was like, there should be blood here.
Yeah.
I feel like, and then I was really confused with those flowers. And I was like, did okay. Mm-hmm. And then...
Yeah, we don't really get it kind of at first, but it's kind of the comedy of, like, we're showing us, like, his psychosis of this big horrible thing happened, but when Jerry's looking at it, he just sees beautiful Fiona laying there in white, not stained, like, but then when he walks away, we see this pile of, like, organs.
I was like, did he just harvest her shit? I was like, what the fuck? Like, just out of nowhere. I was like, okay.
Yeah, so he gets her body, goes home, dismembers her, packs her into hundreds of Tupperware containers. Hundreds. So imagine a full-grown person having to fit into a sandwich baggie. So a lot of Tupperware containers.
At this point, I wrote Jeffrey Dahmer, who?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Except he never eats her, but he does place her severed head inside his fridge.
I was also looking at the trivia for this movie. So it says that he's got like really bad OCD. Mm-hmm. So if you notice the bins are all in like they're alternating gold and blue.
Oh yeah.
And so like that's the thing like throughout like all of this is the fact that he's got such a routine thing, and if he goes off like that, it's just chaos.
Yeah, you can really tell the OCD too because when he's like packing, sorry, someone just bleep blooped to me. When he is like packing the containers, you can see him like trying to like stack them just perfectly.
Right.
Yeah, that is another thing that we see. Okay, let's see. So as his delusions increase in intensity, Fiona's head comes to life and starts talking to him. So now we have the cat, the dog, and now Fiona's head. I'm not gonna lie, I love Fiona as a head.
That was so funny.
She's
and, like,
hilarious.
And she's just like, oh yeah, did like I love you and you're just amazing and like everything else. You're like, okay.
I love when she's like, I was the office hottie last week. It sucks to be me, Jerry. She's like, I had my whole life going for me.
She just played into that whole like British like stereotype. It was awesome. It was great.
It's great because like she's English, and then Jerry, is being her voice, but he only knows what he knows, so you can really tell when she's like, oh, jolly good then, and all of these things you can tell.
Bloody hell.
It's just Jerry. I love Fiona's head. I love that Fiona... Okay, so Fiona demands Jerry to take his medication, which we have seen him in his therapist's office. Every time we see him in this therapist's office, his therapist asks, like, do you hear voices? And he never says no, but he's like, I hear your voice right now. I hear voices when someone's talking to me.
Dodgy.
Yeah, very dodgy. And then Fiona tells him that he needs to take his medication. He takes the pills, and this scene is like one of the most powerful scenes I have ever seen in a movie. It's so crazy because now that Jerry has started to take his medication, he sees reality. And
there is blood everywhere. There are her body is like dismembered, and he sees all the things. And
yes, not only blood, but his cat and his dog actually never leave the house, so they're just shitting and pissing everywhere. I cannot imagine the smell in this house, but
I can't even imagine the smell after the body was there.
Yeah, exactly. So he kind of looks around. He also realizes that his dog and his cat are not speaking to him. He's totally kind of faced with this reality from taking his meds, and it's such a powerful scene. It's so sad.
It was a pretty jarring kind of scene because you see like kind of like the happy-go-lucky and everything else, and she's like pristine, and then all of a sudden like you see like how it actually is. Yes. And then like you see like her like decomposing body like in the fridge, just like okay, all right.
Yeah, it is so jarring.
It's brutal.
It really is. So he decides he right before this too, he takes the pills, and then he has this dream about, we kind of see how his dad was very abusive.
That was intense too.
It was very intense. Yeah. Trigger warning if you're watching this, if you're going to watch this or whatever. There's a lot of things going on in this movie, but he is an abused kid. We kind of see that his dad, we kind of see that his coping skill is the voices. He has a sock puppet, and his little bunny sock puppet that is like he loves and that he's trying to like stay in that world, and the sock puppet is telling him, stay in my world, Jerry, stay in my world, and his dad's like, it's a fucking sock, it's not real. And we kind of just see, and it's right after he takes the medicine that he has this dream, and then he wakes up and his apartment it's reality. It's reality. Yeah. And he sees into reality, and it is oof, it's hard. It's very hard, and it's very real. If you have a mental illness, you know that sometimes you just can't fucking get up.
Yeah.
You just can't take your dog out. You just can't. It's the reality of it. But Jerry has like done that and then dissociated from it so that he thinks that he's living this like wonderful, great life in this clean apartment.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case.
I almost had to ask, like, when he was eating the cereal in that moment, if he was eating like cereal or if he was eating like Fiona.
Yeah.
Like, I did have that thought several times, because every time they go into like that perfect world, he was always eating cereal, but you never actually see cereal in the house whenever it's normal.
Oh.
And I was wondering if he was actually just like, because he was eating something.
Yeah.
I wonder if he was actually eating her, or if he was just.
Yeah.
know.
Something that's, I had never really thought of that, but something that I did think about in this scene today that I had never thought about too before was, I wonder if his work uniforms are actually pink. Like, are the forklifts pink? Like, is everything at work like, or is it the same thing where everything is drab and like shit, but he just doesn't see it that way?
Right.
So that's really strange too.
Also, hey, props to the, if it is pink, props to the people for making their forklift. People were pink. You know,
Yeah.
like, props to
Hell
you.
yeah. Pink is an everybody color, baby. Okay, let's see. He decides to throw away the pills in terror the next morning, and his hallucinations return, and his life is back to quote unquote normal. Fiona tries to convince Jerry to kill another person so she has a friend. So the talking Fiona head in Jerry's fridge is like, I need a friend. I'm so lonely in the fridge, Jerry.
It's such a funny, like, out of the blue scene. It's just like, okay, cool, sure.
Yeah, great. And we already know that Lisa asked Jerry, or like Lisa loves Jerry or wants Jerry, so he asks Lisa on a date, and he is planning on killing her. He takes her to his abandoned childhood home, where it is revealed that his mother was mentally ill, and this is when we really see
Ooh, this scene. Oh my god.
This is where we really see where Jerry's pattern comes from of the I'm in pain, please relieve my pain. And he's just recreating this trauma over and over and over again with complete strangers, which, newsflash, you will do until you solve your problems. Yep. So, yeah, he decides that he's going to kill Lisa, takes him to his abandoned childhood home. We see the mother scene where his mom is institutionalized. She doesn't want to go back to the mental institution, so she starts to kill herself, but can't do it, so she asks Jerry to finish it. And I believe that's Jerry's first...
First, quote-unquote, murder. Like, she asked him to do it, but,
Yeah, this is
that's
fucked up.
I mean, you figure he was... What'd they say, 13, 14?
Yeah, I think he was like, super young, like 96 or something.
Yeah, and he was... That's...
It's really sad. She heard voices also. She called them angels. I think we mentioned that already. But, and she tells Jerry, this is a big problem. She tells Jerry, don't tell anyone about the voices because no one will understand you. So I think that this is another reason why when the therapist asks, do you hear voices? Do you hear voices? Every time he's like,
Well, I think it was also like the stigma. Now you figure that was... 96, you said, for all of that?
For the mom part, yeah.
The 90s were a really big thing for, like, mental health was, like, such a stigma. And I think they really, like, drilled that home, like, from the father not believing it to what happened with her and everything else. Like, it was such, like, a stigma. You can't have, like, voices in your head. You can't have...
Yeah, if
like,
you do, don't tell
depression,
anyone.
or you can't have like schizophrenia because like that's like a bad thing.
Yeah.
And it was such like a stigma, and obviously they've made a lot of steps to go about that better now.
Yeah.
But I think it was even when he was older, it was such like a negative like thing. Even still, that it was just like that stigma about mental health, and I think I think that's where a lot of that stems from. Is that
totally
whole concept.
Yeah. This movie did come out in 2014, so about 10 years ago almost. Not quite, but almost. And it's a totally different world now. Even in 2014 to 2022. I mean, the way that we as a society prioritize mental health now is much different, and it's still, I would say, not where it should be, but it is much better and much different than it was in 2014.
You know, if it's someone saying, hey, I need help, you will get the help that you need decently, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more... you could say, hey, I have depression, or I have this, or I have this. And they'd be like, okay, cool. What can we do to help you out and help make you not this, like, outcast in society?
Yeah, totally.
You know? So
absolutely.
I think that they did a really good job in showing that, too.
Totally. Such a good job. I thought so as well. So let's see. Okay, so we see that the whole mother scene. The police find Jerry standing over his dead mother, and he was committed. So Jerry starts crying, and Lisa starts comforting him. And this part is so weird to me because I feel like when I watched this as a younger person, I was just like, oh my God, like Lisa just like likes Jerry and she's like really sweet and just like trying to comfort him. But as an adult watching Jerry like have this breakdown and sobbing in front of her, and then the first thing she says like, take me home. I was
is she like, Simba was like, take me home. I was like,
what?
not appropriate.
Yeah.
Sure, fine.
But
not appropriate.
I think she's just like, oh, you're sad? I'm sad too. Like,
Yeah,
you know.
like...
Because she does say at one point that she's going through divorce, or she had just gone through divorce.
Yeah.
So she takes Jerry's vulnerability and her own and decides that she's gonna take that monkey to Pound Town. So we see that he leaves the knife at his house that he intended to kill Lisa with, and they go to her place, thank the Lord, and spend the night together. The
At
next...
this point, I said two things. I said hashtag lucky duck, winky face.
real.
And then...
I love you, Anna.
Gorgeous. And then she's like, they're like sitting by the window talking and everything else. And like the sun's like hitting her eyes, like hair. And I was like,
Oh
damn.
Gosh, yes, that bun, like with the
Like,
curlies
the curl,
down.
like, the
Oh
bun,
my
like
gosh,
the sun was hitting her. It was like
yes.
everything else was like,
Same.
1000% improve with that shot. That's a great shot.
Same. I really hope you could hear that. I hope you guys could hear Jordan's little, like, that's Phillip's wife's little voice. Come on. I really hope that it sticks in there. I really want to leave that in. Excuse me? That should be like the tag at the end of the episode, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's so good. Okay, let's see. So Lisa is a little fireball, and she tells Jerry before he leaves, she's like, hey, hit me up at work. We'll make out in the copy room. And he's like, ha, because he's kind of like awkward and really not about, like, Jerry, this is probably the first encounter I would say that Jerry has had
Like,
in this manner,
love
like with the
interest type,
it really feels that way. And so I think that he kind of like doesn't know how to handle Lisa's like fieriness. But the next day she decides that she's gonna get his address from Allison at payroll and surprise Jerry at his house.
I did also comment on this moment because it shows back to Allison, like I think right before the date, I think. And Allison turns around and just gives him just this look of like, I'm going to eat you for lunch, dinner, breakfast, snack, like second breakfast. Like she's like,
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
I know. I never really thought about it as her like looking at Jerry this way until you were saying it. I always thought she was like trying like Lisa like get it,
Yeah.
girl. But you're so right. It's throughout the entire movie.
Like all three of them are just like, well, like
I mean, it's Ryan
specifically
fucking
Allison
Reynolds.
and I mean, I think I did actually write at some point. Where was it? I did write this. The accounting people giving better in my eyes. I mean, fair.
Yeah. I mean, if Ryan Reynolds worked in my my department, it would be hard for me not to.
Right.
It's even if he was like socially awkward Jerry. Mm-hmm. I mean, and for Lisa, it makes it better. Like she is about it.
Right.
I'm like, Lisa, down girl. Like, geez Louise. But yeah, okay. So she decides she's gonna go and she's gonna surprise Jerry. Man, this scene. This
was.
Oh gosh.
It got intense so quickly.
So she comes and he's like obviously freaking out because he has a severed head in his apartment and doesn't want her to come in. But what did she do before she was an accountant? She just like picks this lock. Like it ain't
does
shit.
This, like, she just goes, think, done. Like, and like,
Yeah.
I don't know, for those, RPG players, she rolled a nat 20 on her lockpicking skills, and like, that was it. Like, she just, think, done. Like,
done.
I was like, damn,
Solid,
all right.
solid roll, Lisa.
And
So-
then this is where shit just gets real fast.
Shit gets so real here. She discovers the state of the apartment, including all the containers of organs, blood stains, becoming hysterical when she discovers Fiona's disembodied head on the coffee table. Despite pressure from Mr. Whiskers, Jerry refuses to kill her. Oh, this
And
scene.
like, I also like how this moment, you've seen like the reality of like the room and everything else, and he's yelling at the cat, but the cat is not responding. Like you are seeing like
From her perspective, yeah.
And all of a sudden he's yelling at the cat. He's saying like kill you, but you don't actually hear the cat at all. So you just get like this moment of like him yelling at the cat, him yelling at her. He's not going to hurt her, and then like the whole scene is just like, oh god, and like
It's so scary.
you know she's gonna die at some point, and then the build up was like, holy shit.
Yeah, he really tries to calm her, and I feel like she does such a good job when she's like, I'm calm now. She's like,
Yeah.
it's okay. And she's really trying, and then she's really trying to like, okay, Jerry, like whatever you need, because she's fucking terrified.
Yeah.
It's a really scary scene. Oh man, it's just one of those scenes that just leaves you like all the hairs on your arms standing up. It's just like, ugh. Excuse me. So, she's trying to like calm him, and they kind of like get to this moment, and then she tries to escape. And when she tries to escape, Jerry throws her back into the room.
He like Superman throws her ass too. Like he just like
throws her ass.
yeets her across the room.
I mean,
like,
she's
damn.
a tiny human.
I mean,
too,
fair.
But
She's like 5'3" in real life, and Ryan
I think
Reynolds
I'm
is like
5'3", so I
Yeah.
think she's even smaller than me,
Yeah.
like shorter than me. But yeah, so he throws her back, accidentally breaking her neck, and
It was brutal.
we can tell that she's like paralyzed because of how she like is moving, the tears
not
coming out of
moving.
not
Yeah.
moving, the tears coming out of her eyes slowly. Her blood vessels
This
pop.
is a really cool effect. I love what they did with this. I don't know if it was a practical effect or if it was like a CGI effect. I couldn't tell. But like when her eyes just become like blood red, and you see like the tears just coming down, like it was like it was brutal. But I was like, I really like had to admire that really cool effect. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, so cool. It's
Also wrote, God damn it, Jerry.
so true. I also wrote, God damn it, Jerry.
The fact that you wrote that down too makes me happy.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Yeah, so he ends up, slicing her up, adds her head to the fridge. And then Allison realizes that Lisa's missing, Fiona's missing. They both went to Jerry's house. Why she doesn't put this together, and she decides, I'm going to dress up in this cute skirt. I guess she thinks it's her turn. Allison has been waiting to get a shot at Jerry the whole movie, I guess.
She's like, well, if they can get it, I can get it too.
Yeah, she's about to take her shot. Allison goes to shoot her shot, and Jerry slices her up as well.
I love the comedic moment in this, though. It's like, you just had this really intense moment with, with Lisa and, like everything else. And she gets to the door, she sees the two cars and everything else. She's like, hi, Jerry. Hi, Allison. And then just cuts to her head in the fridge. I had, it was just a really great moment. Just nothing, no explanation, nothing going on. No, like, tense build up. Just, hi, Allison. Head in the fridge. I was like, all right. Sure, all right.
Yes, it's so good. I think this movie is so good at that. Like, it constantly brings you back and forth of, like, holy shit, to, like, laughing hysterically to, like, it's just so funny. I think this movie is so good at that. It goes back and forth so often. So Jerry goes to his counselor, confesses his killings to his counselor, Dr. Warren, who I thought oddly looked like his mom, like a lot like his mom. She tries to call the police, but he takes her hostage and flees into the countryside, desperately waiting for her to help him. I love this because he's like, we got a lot of therapy to do, lady.
Right,
It just
like
tapes her mouth. Like, Fix me.
So there's a scene right before he goes to the therapist's office, and he confesses all his sins, where he is the three heads are in the fridge all talking to him. He is talking to the cat and the dog, and you hear everything. The music is building up, and you see the panic in his eyes, and it was a really impressive acting moment.
Yeah,
those type moments are really hard on the actor, and to do that so well, and so and when he just screams everybody shut up, that was just that moment. I was like, whoa. And I literally wrote Ryan's acting chops. I was like, fuck, dude, that was intense. That moment,
he embodied it completely. You saw it because he's so physical. He's such a physical actor too, that you saw that when he freaks out and he's screaming and the veins in his neck are popping out and shut up, and he slides down that wall. You can just feel the desperation.
You can feel the desperation. You see the hurt, and coming from someone like Ryan Reynolds, who is usually this funny, smart-assy type guy, just fucking break. It was in a really intense scene, but it was really one of those moments where I was like, holy shit, that was really good acting.
So
wow.
Good. Totally. Yeah, she, so we get to Dr. Warren. He takes her hostage. She calms him down, shows him understanding, seemingly to make progress. Meanwhile, 2 other workers from accounting break into Jerry's home, letting Bosco escape. Bosco! No! I feel even though we don't actually know Bosco, because we just hear him as Jerry's voice, you're a good boy. I feel we do know Bosco, and I was really sad.
Yeah. But so jumping back to the 2 workers, right? At this point, and I literally wrote it down, so I was like, these idiots. You've had 3 women from the same department go missing, from the same person connected. At what point did you not realize that you should have called the cops earlier before you got there?
Yeah, and because they find the car, and they're just he still goes up in his apartment. Yeah,
and he's like, I'm gonna go figure out what's going on. She's inside. He's like, I should probably call the cops. I'm like, why didn't you do that when you saw the cars, or before you drove? I was like, what are you doing, dude? You should not have been anywhere near that scene. And the moment you realize they've been missing for several... Now, it was a several-week jump from the time that he went to go... He killed Allison to the time, the therapist. They've been missing now for several weeks at this point. Why have the cops not been called beforehand? Why are they being called with SWAT team and gas and the whole 9 yards after the fact? I was like, you dumbasses.
For sure.
And I know Dominic would have a comment about that. Because that'd be something that he would just be like, what the fuck, dude?
I feel there are so many. It's so funny when I'm watching movies. I always hear his voice now, wait, how did they get in this room? Or why are we here now? Or this doesn't make any fucking sense. It's so funny. We love you, Precious. Shout out, Precious. Let's see. They let Bosco escape. They call the police. Jerry returns home before the police get there somehow, still holding Warren hostage, but then the police surround the house and move in. He also, at one point, Dr. Warren's like, please let me call someone. He's like, no, you'll call the police. The cat's like, don't. She'll call the police. And he's like, oh, you'll call the police. And she's like, no, I just don't want to feel alone. And he's like, oh, you don't want to feel alone? And he goes and gets Fiona's head.
This scene broke me.
Oh my gosh.
Out of all the moments... So, you see, her decomposing head. You see, the cat. You see Dr. Warren tied up, on fucking tape on the couch. Just what the fuck is going on? And then, they're all yelling at each other.
Yeah, as soon as she sees the head, she starts screaming at the head. The head starts screaming back at her. Mr. Whiskers starts screaming. So they're all screaming.
God. And he's like, Fiona, Dr. Warren, calm the fuck down. And then, Mr. Whiskers, just because he's an asshole the entire time. Perfect harmony, perfect, tune. Just keeps it going just to be a little shit. I was like, you...
It's so good.
We had to pause the movie.
We did.
We were both crying at this point because it was just the fucking randomness of it all. And, like, he's yelling at everybody, he's screaming, Mr. Whiskers is just being an asshole for asshole's sake.
Oh my gosh,
God, great.
it's so funny. We did have to pause the movie. And I also love Fiona's face because she's screaming, but she's happy. She's like loving it.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, she's loving it. Yeah, it's by far one of the best bring you back to comedy moments.
Because it just throws her right back in your face. Like,
Yeah.
hey, by the way, this is a comedy movie, you know? It's just like, sure.
So good. It is, yeah, we laughed our asses off. Jerry flees down into the bowling alley, accidentally breaking a gas pipe while doing so. After rescuing Dr. Warren, the police are knocked back from the explosion. The whole bowling alley, which he lives above, just explodes. Jerry realizes the bowling alley is on fire and he's in grave danger. The voices of Bosco and Mr. Whiskers speak to him in his own mind. Mr. Whiskers insists that he get out of there and find another place to live, to hide, so that he may continue killing and feeling alive. However, Bosco tells him that there is no place for him in life any longer and that he should let the fire put him to sleep. Oh, just saying that gives me goosebumps.
That was a...
Choosing,
Ooh.
it's such a hard scene because you really do know, like, Bosco is his good side, and you know that there is good in him, and it's like I was saying in the beginning, it's like I don't want to romanticize or, like, you know, the serial killer,
right?
But we really get in this movie, like, the humanness of just being sick and just not taking care of yourself and where that can lead you.
Also, I think it kind of goes back to, like, what you were talking about earlier with, like, the pattern. I think this is like the really good kind of button to that.
Hi, baby.
A cat just sniffed me, sorry.
It's a really good button to that because he himself is in that pain and that turmoil and that I can't do it and that suffering. So the only way to end this is to do the same thing that I did to everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's
a moment. It's a fucking moment.
And then we get, oh my God.
So they bring us down back to the moment of, like, Jerry is choosing to end his own misery. He lies down and he waits until he blacks out to, eventually die from the smoke inhalation.
And then we get the most fucking random moment in this entire fucking movie. And there's been a lot of random moments in this movie. This one was just like, I literally wrote, what the fuck?
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
So he ends up meeting his mom, his dad. He ends up reuniting with the three girls and Jesus, apparently. And he basically ends up, like, and they're like in this, like, 1970s, like, go-go type dress.
Yeah, like 60s, 70s go-go.
60s, 70s, like, go-go dress thing, right? And they've got, like, the boots and they got, like, the colors and, like, everything else. And then they do this whole song and dance for the credits. And he's wearing this, like, blue suit and, like, blue suede shoes and, like... And then he's doing this dance number with Jesus and all of the other people. It's just like, the song is catching up.
He also apologizes. He, like, apologizes to the girls. He's like, I'm sorry for killing you guys. And they're like, it's okay, Jerry. Let's not worry about that. Let's just have a good time.
And then Q just, like, find a happy place, sing a happy song for, like, 3 minutes. I was like, I have more questions about this scene than I had the entire rest of the movie.
And then Jesus lifts Jerry on a pink forklift up to heaven.
Like, okay.
Because he's still a good boy. Okay, and that is the voices. How many pumpkins do you give the voices?
Oh, man. This isn't my normal cup of tea. This isn't really one that I'll be like, I'm going to go watch this movie.
Again.
I'm glad you recommended it to me, though, because it was a unique experience for sure. I know you love this movie. It was something very different, but I quite enjoyed the ride that it gave me. Kind of trying to the up and downs, the comedy, the everything else. I'll give it I would say a 4.
4 pumpkins
Yeah.
from the Phillip Meister. I am going to give this 5 pumpkins. It is one of my favorites. Like I told Phillip in the beginning, he was like, do you want me to pause the movie? I was like, nah, I know the dialogue. I love this movie. It's so good. It's a staple for me. So yeah, 5 pumpkins for me, 4 from Phillip. I also, before we go, I just wanted to thank you, Phillip, so much for joining us, but also for supporting our show. Phillip is not only, You know, he's not only a special guest, but he's also a fan of Monster Movie Fun Time Go. One of my favorite things is when Phillip laughs at something or finds something funny, he will text me instantly and be like, oh my gosh, I loved this. And it just makes my entire day. It makes this so worth it to me doing this show. I absolutely love all of you and love doing this show and love every time you text me or give me any sort of feedback, good, bad, and different. We love to hear it. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for supporting our show.
Thank you for having me. This has been really fun. I listened to you guys now for a little over a year now, and I'm caught up for the most part. So I catch up on recent days, but I love you guys. I support you guys as much as I can. And, I made a Facebook post and Instagram post about a little while ago with my daughter as
our little larva.
Towel.
Thank you so much, Phillip, for being on the show. It was such a pleasure doing the interview with you. Thank you so much for listening to the show and being a fan. Thank you guys all for being here. Tune in tomorrow for more 31 Days of Horror, probably. And please remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements. And please do not misuse science. We will not see you, but you will hear us next week. Tomorrow. You will hear us tomorrow on Monster Movie Fun Time Go.
You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your podcasting platform of choice. Our theme song is by the Texacato Folk Rock Punk featuring Lita Lopez. You can support the show, find links to our social media, and even leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/mmftg.